Hey y'all, I wanted to talk about learning gaps in homeschooling. This is one of the biggest fears of most homeschoolers is, what if my child has a learning gap? What if I miss something? What if I don't teach them something? What if I forget? I'm here to tell you, I promise it's fine. And spoiler alert, we all have learning gaps. I have them, you have them. No one knows everything. No curriculum is perfect and teaches everything, and there will be learning gaps. So it is fine, I promise. What if they go off to college and I forgot to teach them something? No curriculum is perfect. No curriculum could possibly cover every single thing, and every person has their own strengths and weaknesses. Hopping from one curriculum to another is the best way to develop a learning gap. So for instance, in math, if you switch curriculums with your fourth grader and they have not gotten to, say, Roman numerals in that curriculum, and you switch to a curriculum that has already gone over that in third grade, you may have a learning gap there. This is why I like spiral learning, spiral curriculum. You can have mastery or spiral. Mastery is where you do it over and over and over and over until you get it, and then you move on. Spiral learning teaches the lesson and goes back to review the lesson previously, and then it teaches another lesson and goes back to review. And there's lesson reviews, unit reviews, and curriculum reviews. I prefer that way of teaching, and my children prefer that way of learning, and that's the best way to avoid learning gaps, because whatever you've missed, however or whyever, it's going to come back around. So if you've missed something big, then you can take a minute, stop, go over that, teach that, kids can learn that, and then move on, and then it will come back around again as a review, and the learning gaps become shorter. We take a standardized test about every other year, and this helps with spotlighting those learning gaps that you didn't know about. Essentially, I'm testing myself. When we do a standardized test, there's no fuss, there's no prep. I order the test online, they ship them to me, and one day we just take a break from our regular schoolwork and we do test instead. My kids do not have test anxiety because we have made standardized testing fun. We do something different that we normally wouldn't do. Maybe we go out to eat for lunch. Maybe we have a swimming plan for when we're done. We usually end up taking these tests with other friends. We have gotten together with other families, and maybe we meet at the library. We all do our tests at the same time. Each family receives their own test scores. That's just to show you where your student is at this time. And it will show, hey, there's a strength here, but there's a weakness here. And maybe your curriculum is not as strong as you thought it was, or maybe your student is just struggling in that subject or that area, and you need to take more time on that, and they're behind, and that's fine as long as you're aware of it and you can move forward with that information. One year we took our standardized test at the local public school. I would not recommend this, and we won't be doing that again, not because I'm mad at the school, just because I don't feel like it was a true snapshot of my students' education. The test that they were taking at the school, they had, like I said, no prep. We had not taught the test, and that's what the public school kids had been doing for the last couple of weeks, was prepping and studying and practicing for the test. Those tests are sometimes designed to look for specific answers to specific questions. My kids had no idea. They may know the material, but they don't know the specific answer that the test is looking for. Maybe they got something wrong when they actually knew it, but just didn't word it correctly, if that makes sense. So that was not for us. We prefer to stick with testing at home or stick with testing with friends, where I'm in control, I'm the proctor, and I am receiving the results to judge where we need to move forward and where we need to focus on next year for our curriculum. I like to take those tests and get the results right before I buy curriculum for the next year. So essentially, we all have gaps. I have gaps, you have gaps. I cannot tell you how much I have learned in the last 7 years homeschooling 3 children and going over each grade 3 separate times. I have learned a lot. And I swear some of this wasn't in my school. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I don't know. It really is okay. It's one of the reasons we have majors in college. Nobody has to know everything about every science course, but if you're pre-med, that's pretty important. I was an art major, and so my classes looked more like painting and drawing and sculpture with a concentration in photography. That's not important to anyone else unless you're going into the art field, and I was going into professional photography, so that was important for me. I have gaps in math, and that's okay. That's why I hire an accountant. I even have art gaps. No one knows everything, and it's fine. As long as you get the big picture items, and as long as you know where you are and where your student is in their education and in their learning, you can adjust as you go. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope this video gave you some reassurance about learning gaps, and they're not so scary after all. Please comment below if you have any specific questions, and make sure to subscribe down below. Hit the little bell. It'll let you know when I put up a new video about homeschooling, and I hope y'all all have a great week. Bye-bye.
And I'm taking over.